There he is. I'm good. How are you, counsel? Okay, you folks in the back there, I'm addressing my remarks to you guys. You are here on an extradition hearing this morning. Let me just read to you exactly what's going on. You're here because you've been detained on a warrant from another state. This morning you will be asked whether you waive challenging the legality of your detention or whether you wish to fight the extradition back to the state from which the warrant was issued. If you wish to waive challenging the extradition, you'll sign a waiver of extradition form. You have these rights. While you don't have the right to be represented by a court-appointed attorney this morning, you can be represented by an attorney of your choosing if you hire one. You do not have to and should not say anything about the circumstances of your case. Please keep in mind this blue light indicates that everything you say and I say are being recorded, and anything you say may be used against you in a court of law to prosecute you on your case. If you waive extradition, you'll be held in custody until authorities from the state from which the warrant was issued come to get you. Typically, that takes 7 to 10 days. If the particular state has not picked you up within 30 days after you sign the waiver, you will be released from custody. However, that does not mean that the warrant is dismissed or the charges against you will be dismissed. It only means that the state waited too long to come forward and pick you up to take you to their state. The fastest way for you to get the charges that you're facing in the other state behind you is to waive extradition, go back to the originating state, and resolve whatever matter is causing you to be held on the warrant that you're here today on. You also have the right to fight your extradition to the state from which the warrant issued. If you choose to fight it, Florida prosecutors will advise the authorities in the other state that they have to start extradition proceedings for your return, which involve various branches of the government in the 2 states, including the governor's offices. That process may take 2 to 3 months to complete. During the time, you will remain incarcerated here in Florida, and you will not be earning any credit time while sitting in the custody here waiting on your extradition trial. I cannot give you any legal advice, nor can the state attorney here who is present representing the state of Florida. He cannot give you any legal advice. So I'm going to ask you by name whether you wish to waive your extradition or whether you wish to fight the extradition as I've explained to you. First case on is Montrell Russum. Are you Montrell? Yes. Your name is R-U-S-S-U-M, Russum? All right, sir. According to the paperwork I have, you are a fugitive from the state of Nevada. You are facing extradition proceedings then to the state of Nevada. The charge that's indicated on this form is an open charge of murder and robbery. I don't know about the veracity of those charges. I only know what the paperwork indicates. Do you wish to waive your extradition and go back and face these charges in the state of Nevada, or do you wish to fight that extradition proceedings here in the state of Florida, sir? Waive. You want to go back to the state of Nevada. All right, you're going to be given a waiver form. You got the waiver forms? Let me have one of those, would you please? Okay, I understand that, but let me just see one, a blank one if I could. Thanks. Okay, sir, it's pretty self-explanatory what these say. It's a waiver. Thank you. It's a waiver of extradition. If you have any questions for me about the form, you can ask me. Otherwise, your name is indicated on there with your case number, and you will need to sign that under where it says fugitive signature, and then I'll sign it as the judge. And as I said, based on that, you'll be transported back to the state of Nevada. They have to make arrangements with the Florida officials to come and get you. The next case on the docket is Patrick Evans. Mr. Evans, it appears from the paperwork I have that you're a fugitive from the state of Mississippi, and you were charged in that state with aggravated assault. You heard the recitation that I made here this morning. Do you wish to waive your extradition, sir, or do you wish to fight that? I'm sorry? You wish to waive? Okay. Mr. Russum and let me ask all three of you before we proceed further. Are all of you making these decisions here freely and voluntarily? Say yes if that's right. You need to speak up so this can pick you up. Yes. All right, all three said yes. Are any of you under the influence of drugs or alcohol today? No. And is anybody forcing you, coercing you in any way to agree to either fighting extradition or waiving extradition? All right, thank you, fellas. Okay, the next, she's going to get you, he'll get you the form Mr. Evans, so you can go back to Mississippi and fight your case, sir. And the last case I have is Sean. Sean, I'm having a difficult time. Is it Hero? What is it? Ganaram. Oh, I never would have got that. All right, Sean, you heard the recitation that I made here, and you were, let me get my paperwork here. Okay, you're charged, you were fugitive from the state of New York, it this indicates, and it says that you were on violation of probation, possibly for a DWI. Again, I don't know the accuracy of that, but that's up between you and the state of New York to sort out. Do you wish to waive extradition this morning, sir, and go back and resolve your case in New York, or do you wish to fight extradition?
Judge, I have a private attorney, and she, I had a court case this morning, and you were aware of my, she told me not, she didn't know that it was like, it was today, I didn't know, she told me not.
Judge, all we should probably do then is just take this as a refusal. He would have to come back at the 30-day mark anyway, because that's when we ask for our extension, because the governor's warrant between the two governors is never ready.
Okay, I'm gonna leave it up to you, Sean. You need to get a hold of your lawyer, get a hold of the state attorney, and get this back on the docket. Okay, if you don't do it, it might not be heard.
And if he wants to like waive sooner than that, then
You can sign the paperwork.
they can put it on the docket and bring him back in.
All right,
He also, Judge, just by way of information, is really not causing any delay. The other two gentlemen that have already waived don't have any local charges. We can notify those states. Their clock starts today for their 30 days for them to come get you. The last individual, Mr. Danaram, he does have a local VOP. He's got to clear up first anyway.
okay.
Before we did, even if he did waive.
All right, this is what I'm gonna do then, Sean. I'm gonna pass your case and take it off the docket, sir. You need to get a hold of your private lawyer, tell her that nothing occurred with respect to this extradition hearing this morning, and get her to get in touch with either the first appearance judge's office or the state attorney's office to get it back on for a docket, or in the interim, if you decide you want to waive extradition after discussion with your lawyer, you can do that as well, sir. Okay?
Excuse me, which state prosecutor bishop in the time?
Well, she'd have to give it, Mr., it's Farnsworth, right? Farnsworth. She'll know she'll ask for the lawyer who handles extraditions for the state attorney's office. All right?
You'll come back automatically for the 30 days.
So you all want this paperwork back on him so that nothing happens? Counsel? That's the paperwork on Sean that's just being passed over.
All right, we're going to start with Claudiane Bonanet. She bonded? Okay. There you go. Ashley Lee?
She posted bond.
Bonded, Judge.
Ms. Lee, okay. Angelina Vespia?
North Broward, Judge.
Ms. Vespia, you're being held today on a charge of possession of fentanyl. I have reviewed your paperwork, and I've also reviewed your prior record. The court does find probable cause to detain you, ma'am. What says pretrial? Is there any priors other than local?
No, Your Honor, nothing out of local area.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm asking my pretrial officer, okay? Thank you. I don't need to know the state. Is-
Possession, sale, hold, stolen vehicle, misdemeanor, conviction, but it doesn't say the, New York State. It doesn't say the, conviction, but no,
Okay,
in the record, Your Honor.
all right.
If I may, Judge, I believe this is a residue case, and what generally happens, according to the policy of the state attorney's office, is that they file it ultimately as a possession of drug paraphernalia, a misdemeanor.
Okay,
So I'm not saying that there's no probable cause to find for the possession of fentanyl, but I would ask the court to take that into consideration when setting bond for
all
Ms.
right.
Vespia.
The bond is $1,000. Ira Adler? Thank you, ma'am, that's all.
Your Honor, may I ask one thing?
Yes, ma'am?
I was already on a previous ROR. Is there any way I could possibly even put on another ROR? I've never missed court. I appeared for every case. My last cases were more than 10 years old.
Thank you,
And
ma'am.
then my most recent is just traffic and then this.
No,
And
ma'am.
This was actually something found in a vehicle that I happened to be a passenger in.
Thank you, ma'am, that's all. Ira Adler?
Judge, he's here first. Come on, Mr. Adler. He's approaching, Judge.
Mr. Adler, you're being held on 4 warrants for failing to appear on 4 different charges. They're all misdemeanors. Sir, you have 2 options today. If you want to resolve these 4 charges today in exchange for a plea of no contest, the court will adjudicate you guilty, sentence you to 4 days, credit for any time you have served, or you can come back and test these charges by posting bond of $1,000. What would you like to do, sir?
He wishes to accept this court's offer as far as adjudication 4 days.
All right.
With credit for time served, Judge.
All right, thank you very much. Joshua Delgado Castro?
Sir Delgado Castro is here. He's going to require a Spanish interpreter, Judge.
Okay,
We have one on the way.
all right.
Siento, por favor.
Senor, yeah,
We
gracias.
have one right here.
Oh, actually, he's here. Está aquí.
Ven aquí, señor.
Yeah. Sir, you're being held on a warrant for failing to appear
Señor está siendo detenido por una orden de arresto por no haber comparecido,
on a charge of petty theft.
por un cargo de hurto menor.
Sir, you have a bond of $2,000,
Señor, tiene una fianza existente de $2,000
and because it appears that restitution is possible,
y porque parece que la indemnización del caso es posible,
the court cannot give an offer to resolve this case.
el tribunal no puede extender una oferta para resolver este caso.
All right.
Judge, when I read the PC, my understanding is it was $34.62 or the amount of, as far as the items that they recovered on his person. So in order for them to inventory and come up with that $34.62, I'm assuming that the merchandise was recovered, so.
It may have well been recovered, but it was food, and so it may not have been saleable. Okay? Thank you, sir, that's all.
Señor, gracias, señor, eso es todo.
Theodore Garner?
There is one more Spanish-speaking person.
Here's how you doing, Judge?
Good afternoon, sir. Give me just a moment.
All right, Judge.
All right, let's see what we got here. Is it Aspina? Villasamia? I'm looking at the names.
He's actually on our second look docket.
Oh,
His
then
name is
they're gonna have to wait.
Francisco Ademe.
I'm sorry, they're gonna have to wait on that. I'm
All right.
sorry. Mr. Garner, you're being held on a charge of resisting an officer without violence. The court finds probable cause to detain you, sir. Until further order of the court, there can be absolutely no return to the Shell gas station. Sir, I do note one prior, your bond is $100, sir. That's all for today.
We're gonna be asking you to consider releasing on pretrial release, considering this is a misdemeanor offense. He lives in Hollywood with his mother. He advised me his mother cannot afford to post a monetary bond.
It does look like, reviewing that affidavit, that additional charges may be well forthcoming, sir. Sorry about that. Torvis Skinner.
Mr. Skinner's in North Broward, Your Honor. He'd like to resolve this if possible.
Mr. Skinner, you're being held on a charge of resisting an officer without violence. The court finds probable cause to detain you. Sir, the court notes your 5 priors. The court declines to make an offer. Your bond is $100, sir. Colby Fugazi.
Mr. Colby Fugazi is here present, Judge.
Sir, you're being held on a charge of trespass of an occupied structure. The court finds probable cause to detain you. The court notes no priors. Does the pretrial have anything?
Old priors around 1996. No priors, Your Honor.
Mr. Fugazi, you live in Collier County, sir?
No, sir, I live in Pompano.
You live in Pompano?
Yes, sir.
Do you know why they have a Marco Island address for you?
That's my mother's address. I moved over here about a year ago.
Okay, do you work, sir?
Yes, I work at a gym, sir.
Okay. The court's I'm gonna ROR you, sir. You'll be getting notice to return to court. You need to make sure you come back when you get that notice, but it's gonna be sent to your mother's address because that's the address you gave them, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. Alexander Babkin.
Mr. Bowden?
Mr. Babkin's in North Broward, Judge. He'd like either to be released on his own recognizance or possibly resolve the case today.
Sir, you're being held on a warrant for failing to appear on a case before, it looks like Judge. Actually, it's been assigned to a judge here at Central now. It originally was a Hollywood case. Sir, I do note your 20 priors. You have 2 options. If you want to come back and contest the charge, sir, your bond is $250. That was set by your judge. Or you can resolve this today. Plea of no contest. Sir, you haven't heard the offer yet. Okay? It would be an adjudication, 7 days in the county jail, credit for any time served. What would you like to do, sir?
Yes, I want to resolve it, 7 days.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Antonio Little.
Mr. Little, come on up. Mr. Antonio Little is a person, Judge.
Do you have the DL records for the afternoon docket? You can push them all here. Yeah.
Here's
Thanks.
Mr. Little, Judge.
Sir, you're being held on a charge of loitering as well as a warrant for failing to appear on a charge of operating without a valid license. The court finds probable cause to detain you. Note your 7 priors, sir. Your total bond is $275, sir. Travis Royer.
Bonded, Judge.
Okay. Well, that takes care of that driving record. Bobby Washington.
Mr. Washington, come on up.
Mr. Washington, you're being held on a warrant for failing to comply with the registration law.
This is one of the cases I provided a report for, Your Honor.
Okay, but I have that Judge, this was Judge McCarthy and not in custody affidavit.
It's a not in custody case that was issued by the clerk's office. It's a no bond hold for magistrate to have a bond set today.
All right, what's the bond I note 10 priors, but what's the bond typically on this? Because there's not one on here.
Yeah,
There's not a standard bond?
no.
Judge, we're gonna be asking you to consider a $1,000 bond. Mr. Washington right now just received Social Security's 486. And the only person that can put this bond is his sister who's retired. And that's the nature why we're asking for a $1,000 bond. He's 68 years old, Judge.
Did register. Okay. All right, this is failing to report within 48 hours. All right, the court will set the bond at $1,000.
Thank you, Judge.
There you go, ma'am. Jimmy Jones?
He's approaching, Judge.
Mr. Jones, you're being held on a charge of possession of cocaine, possession of heroin, possession of drug paraphernalia, and driving while license suspended, third or subsequent offense. Sir, the court finds probable cause to detain you. Sir, your total bond is $2,850. Jeremiah Knowles Edwards,
It's a medical reset, Your Honor.
this is you've looked at your paperwork. You have
I
you
have
have
a
a significant problem here
I have
with
a
this one.
supplement for that one as well, Your Honor.
Okay. Did you want to staple it so they have it next time, or?
I'll just provide it to the
Provide
court
it.
when he's back, Your Honor.
Would be nice for the judge to review it in advance, don't you think?
All right, Your Honor, I'll print it out and attach it.
Okay. Isaiah Thomas, but not the Isaiah Thomas?
Mr. Thomas?
Sir, you're being held on a charge of grand theft auto, possession of THC, operating without a valid license, and 2 warrants for violating pretrial. The court finds probable cause to detain you. On the grand theft auto, your bond's $1,000, possession of THC, $1,000, operating without a valid license, $25. But you're on an O-bond hold on both of the violations of pretrial. You need to see Judge Calra, sir, to have that issue resolved. Thank you, ma'am. Sebastian,
Judge, what bond did you set on count 3?
my,
25.
Matt,
I think you said 25.
it's whatever was on the PC determination. I didn't change it.
I don't think there was,
Oh, on the,
as far as my paperwork,
The determination I just gave you. Mr. Ospina is going to be next. Madam Clerk, do you have the paperwork I just gave you, please? Thomas. Operating without it is $25.
no, count number 3, Judge.
Oh, I see. I'm going to ROR on that count. Thank you. Sebastian Ospina.
A bonded, Judge.
Okay. Alejandro Villasmil.
Bonded, Judge.
And Anthony Bellamy.
Mr. Bellamy?
Mr. Bellamy, you're being held on 2 warrants, one for failing to appear on a municipal ordinance violation, and another one for violating pretrial in a felony case, sir. Your total bond is $10,100, sir. Henry Garman. Mr. Garman.
Mr. Garman? Mr. Garman? Garman, is he? He's not here yet? Judge, he's being transported down.
Okay. Ariel Torres.
Mr. Torres? He's approaching, Judge.
I don't have paperwork on Mr. Torres.
Your Honor, this was an up-file from resisting without violence to a resisting with violence. I've a copy of the original probable cause affidavit printed. I just have to locate it.
All right.
Judge, we're gonna need a Spanish interpreter for Mr. Torres.
Is my Spanish interpreter still here or no? Okay, if you could order him. All right, thank you.
Tomás, por favor.
Quentin Mack.
I provided the court with an additional report.
Judge, I think we're still waiting on Mr. Mack. Garman and Mack are being transported down, Judge.
You. Okay. Now, we reset Saunders from this morning, but I don't believe I have that paperwork, the probable cause determination file, or paperwork. Do you? Thank you, ma'am. All right, Gregory Saunders? No? I guess not. All right.
I'm showing he's a Paul Ryan, Your Honor.
At Ryan, is Mr. Saunders there? Gregory Saunders?
sir.
All right,
Goodbye.
thank you, sir. All right.
Scott Porras.
Garmin, Torres, Max, Summers. Okay. What else do we have?
Did another reset from this morning, Your Honor, Scott Porras.
I was not, do you have that paperwork for Mr. Pores?
Reset cases.
Here it is. Is counsel for Mr.?
Yes, Chad
You're
Mason.
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
All right, let's find Mr. Pores.
I see him sitting there.
Mr. Pores, if you'll come forward, sir? Thank you.
Have you had a chance to
Who's
review-
here, me?
I'm sorry?
Have you had a chance to review the problem?
I did this morning because he was on the morning docket. He advised that you would be able to come this afternoon, so
Yes.
we're here.
Judge, we're asking for a minimal bond in this case. If you look at the facts in the probable cause affidavit, which are pretty scanned, you'll see a couple things. One, this is a delayed report. It's almost 2 years old at the time it's made. Secondly, there's allegations in there that the alleged victim herself was self-administering a lot of Xanax, which would have an amnesic effect on her. And again, it's just her self-report. There's no corroborating evidence whatsoever of this. And also, without breaking privilege, I have reason to believe that she has a motive to tell this story, even though it's not true. So,
Well, at this point, based on what's in the probable cause affidavit, there's probable cause to believe it is true. So that's all the court has to find at this point. I do note he has, for as young as he is, a fairly lengthy record. He has 13 priors. For someone that's 21, that's very disturbing to the court. Did the state want to be heard on this?
Your Honor, and the only other thing I would notice, Your Honor, it does mention that there was an independent witness that gave a sworn statement in the probable cause.
I saw that.
Your Honor, I'm gonna be requesting, obviously I'm gonna be asking for no victim contact. Your Honor, I'm gonna be requesting, bonds in the amounts of $25,000 on count 2 and count 3.
Okay.
also, where are they getting 2 counts? Because I only see one alleged act.
There's a,
It's, well, Your Honor, if to put it as delicately as
right,
possible.
I understand. You just need to read it, I think, a little bit more carefully, but there are 2 acts alleged.
I would ask that bond be set at no more than 5,000 per count.
All right,
Given
Mr. Porras, until further order of the court, you can have absolutely no contact with the alleged victim in this case. If you do, that likely result in your being held in custody until such time as your case is resolved. On count 1, the court's going to set bond at $100. On count 2, $10,000. On count 3, $10,000, for a total of $20,100. Thank you, sir. All right. Let me go ahead and
Right,
see.
and Mr. Garman, who was on a recall, he's gonna be a medical reset.
Mr. Garman's a medical reset?
Yes, Henry Garman's gonna be a medical reset, Judge.
Okay, that's Mr. Garman. And we're still waiting on Mr. Mack?
No, Mr. Mack is here, Judge.
Okay, Mr. Mack? Does the state have paperwork on
He's
Mr.
right here.
Mack?
I provided an additional report, Your Honor.
Oh, it's the same one as Garman, basically. No, it's,
It's the same one as, Edwards.
is this the one that I? Yeah, it's the same one. All right, Mr. Mack, sir, you're being held on a charge of manufacturing for distribution, imitation drugs, conspiring to traffic in cocaine, less than 200 grams, and conspiring to traffic in heroin, less than 30 kilos. What says the status, first of all, to a prior record?
One moment, Your Honor, I'm looking that up right now. I'm showing, Your Honor, out of the state of Georgia. Criminal trespass from 2000, it looks like 2015. He was placed on, looks like 12 months probation. That's all I have, Your Honor.
If I may, he's 20 years old. As you heard, he does not have an extensive criminal record. He's been back and forth between Georgia and Florida. Unfortunately, his mother passed away, and now he's down here, and he has really no place to stay. He's been staying on the couch with some friends in Deerfield. He owns no property, no sort of cars under his name, no sort of assets or anything like that. Right now, he advised me he's looking for work. So financially, from what the bond is, $500,000, something that he's not going to be able to afford. I'd ask you to take his financial resources into consideration determining a reasonable bond, Judge.
If I'm reading this paperwork you gave me correctly,
Sure.
there was never any cocaine or heroin,
No, Your Honor, that's why it's charged with conspiracy.
but the bonds are set
Those are,
substantially.
those are still the standard bonds on a conspiracy, but I
Okay.
understand, obviously, the court taking that into consideration.
Right.
Also appears that out of the three individuals involved, Mr. Mack's participation was the least.
Okay. I mean, it is concern, I know you say one of you said he's staying on the couch, which is more concerning to the court that he doesn't have any tie here. The court's gonna set on count one, the bond is gonna be $1,000. Count two, 10,000. Count three, 10,000 for a total of $21,000. Thank you. All right, so we're still waiting on Mr. Saunders. Mr. Torres? The Spanish interpreter's here. All right, I think you were, the state was explaining that this was an upcharge, and I have no paperwork.
Creo que estaba explicando la fiscalía que esto era un cambio de carátula y ha aumentado el cargo.
Thank you.
What page is Ariel?
Page 11.
Thank you.
What did, what was the bond originally?
It was originally an ROR, no bond attached, when it was resisting without violence.
What else is he facing?
Era la
This
fianza
is
originalmente,
I'm sorry, we're
originalmente era
talking too fast.
bajo palabra.
I apologize.
Libertad.
Thank you.
He's being held on a $1,000 bond on a grand theft and a $1,000 bond for battery on a law enforcement officer.
Está siendo tenido por una fianza de $1,000 por un hurto mayor y una fianza de $1,000 por lesiones sobre un oficial de policía.
Right, on this count, the additional upcharge will leave the bond or the release the same, which will be ROR on count 6.
En este cargo original vamos a dejar las condiciones de libertad como eran bajo palabra. El sexto cargo.
Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias.
Is, actually, I'm the ROR docket. I'm trying to see who we need for Spanish. Is Mr. Adame there?
He's in North Broward, Judge.
Does he need a Spanish?
I believe so.
Sir, do you need a Spanish interpreter?
Señor, ¿usted requiere el servicio de intérprete en español?
Hablo un poquito de español.
I speak a little Spanish.
Okay. Oh, a little Spanish?
Un poco de español.
Well, what is your what's the language you speak customarily?
¿Cuál es su idioma natal o principal?
Español.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Spanish.
All right, sir, Sir, you're here before the court today on a motion to release you on your own recognizance.
Señor, se encuentra aquí ante el tribunal por un recurso para soltarlo bajo palabra.
And what says the defense?
¿Y qué dice la defensa?
I really didn't get a chance to talk to him, Judge. My Spanish is not very good.
Okay.
No pude hablar con él, su señoría.
This
Mi
is a
español no es
second
muy bueno.
look?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, if you'd like, I printed out all the, I don't know if you had a chance to look at them.
No, I don't have any paperwork for
Su
these at
señoría,
all.
yo imprimí todos los papeles y las partes del expediente.
Thank you. But these don't have the probable cause determination that tell the court.
Pero estos no
I
contienen
can
la
advise the court
determinación
any of that
del
information.
motivo fundado.
All right, what are the bonds currently?
Your Honor,
¿Cuáles son las fianzas actualmente? Un momento, señoría.
bond was set at,
Thank you.
$500 para cada cargo, su señoría. Gracias.
I don't, based on the allegations in the probable cause affidavit, particularly that the defendant, I'm sorry to go, I'll slow
Basada en
down,
las alegaciones, específicamente lo que el imputado
has had these issues multiple times,
ha tenido estos asuntos frecuentes o múltiples veces
and that his conduct toward the arresting officer,
y que su conducta hacia el oficial que lo arrestó,
the court will not change the bond.
el tribunal no va a cambiar la fianza.
That's all.
Eso es todo.
Right, let me see. What about, is there, I don't have anyone else that looks like they might need an interpreter. Was that the only one that you saw, counsel? Okay. All right, let's then go on to Keish Tenort. I think that's it.
Okay, thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Mr. Tenort?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ms. Tenort, I'm sorry. All right. This is an arrest back on May the 8th. It's a motion for ROR. This is not just a second look, this is a
30-day motion.
30-day motion.
Yes, and Your Honor, the state has not filed an information, so Ms. Tenort is entitled to release on these charges. I would just note, I believe the court's original no victim contact order is still in place.
All right. So, Mr. Nord, if the state decides they are going to proceed with these charges, you will be notified by mail. If you fail to return to court, a warrant will be issued for your arrest. Additionally, the order that you stay away from the alleged victim in this case remains in effect. Do you understand that, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. Good luck to you, ma'am.
Your Honor, we have another female for second look for Barbara Nicole.
I'll get to
and
the-
I also have Mr. Saunders here.
I'll get to that in a moment. Andrew Fies, F-I-E-S.
Conti.
All right, this is a second look.
Your Honor, it's another, it's a motion, a 30-day motion, I believe. I'm going to be asking that the court deny the motion. It is premature, it's not ripe, Your Honor. By my count, Mr. Fees has only 10 days in custody since the date of arrest. He was originally arrested May 9th and given pretrial. He was released the next day. He was then arrested June 3rd on new drug charges and ordered to be held no bond on a warrant, violation of pretrial.
Pretrial.
warrant. So he's a total of 10 days in custody.
Okay. All right, the motion for RR as to Mr. Fees will be denied. Charles Rodriguez.
So Conti, I believe.
This is a second look. Mr. Rodriguez, you've been in, it looks like what, 5 days? Or actually 4 days. A charge of driving while license suspended as a habitual traffic violator.
His bond was set at $750, Your Honor.
Was there anything else? Do you have those records?
I'm looking at the well, as far as the findings, no, just,
I'm sorry, but as far as,
I'll look that up, Your
okay.
Honor.
And just for the court record, Your Honor, he may have a possible warrant out of California.
Okay.
30 result.
As far as local priors, Your Honor, 2017, in possession of cocaine, he was sentenced to 270 days in county jail. 2016, DUI, misdemeanor possession of cannabis, he was placed on 6 months probation. And then 1992, possession of cocaine, carrying concealed weapon.
Okay. All right, the bond's going to remain the same for Mr. Rodriguez. The motion will be denied. Dave McKay.
I think Mr. McKay bonded, Judge.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. Joseph Hovanes or Hovanes.
Mr. Hovanes is here present, Judge. He is approaching.
All right, sir, you've been in 4 days on a charge of possession of heroin, possession of cannabis, and resisting an officer.
That is correct, Judge. Unfortunately, there's no one that can post his bond. Unfortunately, he is homeless. However, he does have a place, his mother, who resides in Palm Beach, where he can get mail. So we'd be asking you to consider releasing Mr. Hovanes on pretrial release. My understanding, from what he informed me, the last contact he had with the criminal justice system on a felony was about 7 years ago.
What's his estate?
Your Honor, his what I have in front of me, he has a $1,000 bond and a criminal, as far as Broward, a misdemeanor criminal mischief in 2011.
Oh, you don't have anything, you don't have the state?
I'd have to check, Your Honor. Do you?
The, anything for Mr. Hovanes other than, local?
No, Your Honor, this is the second state, looking at these, August sixth, 2013, that's the cycle of the charge. It's dropped, without violence,
All right, the court will modify conditions of release to minimal pretrial supervision.
Thank you, Judge. And you only have, I guess, tomorrow before 12 noon to report to pretrial release?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Judge.
All right, Jeremiah Allen?
Mr. Allen? Come on up, sir.
Mr. Allen?
Allen's here for...
Okay, sir, you've been in 4 days on a charge of grand theft. All right, what says the state?
Your Honor, his bond, it's for the grand theft from a dwelling, his bond set at $5,000. His criminal history, 2015 grand theft auto, he was sentenced to just over 36 months as a state prison as a habitual offender. 2013 burglary of a structure with a violation of probation, just over 27 months as a habitual offender. 2012, another burglary structure VOP, he received the same sentence concurrent as the other burglary. 2012 burglary of a structure and burglary of a conveyance VOP, same sentence concurrently. 2012 grand theft auto VOP, same sentence to run concurrently. Theft 2011, theft 2011, burglary of a structure 2011. Another 2011, 2 counts burglary of a structure, grand theft auto 2011, dealing in stolen property 2011, theft 2011, theft 2010.
All right, the motion for RR will be denied.
Judge, quickly, in speaking to Mr. Allen, he advised me that, I guess, he had an opportunity to read the police report. The value from what he saw in the report was around $180. I wanted to verify, he's being charged with the grand theft. What was the dollar amount on the probable cause affidavit?
Your Honor, he's charged with grand theft from a dwelling, which is, I believe, between $100 and $300.
Right.
Oh, okay, okay.
All right,
I thought it was right.
thanks. Nicole Barber, Ms. Barber?
All right.
Hi.
All right, Ms. Barber, you've been in 4 days on a charge of offering or agreeing to secure for lewdness as well as possession of heroin. What says the state on this one?
Your Honor, her total bond is $1,300. I don't see any local priors. I don't know if pretrial.
What says the state? I mean, what says pretrial? Nicole Barber?
old charges, 2001, drug, controlled substance, felony, dropped down to misdemeanor, no cross, 2004, fraud, checks, no cross, and a burglary.
All right, the motion will be granted as the bond will be reduced to $500, $250 on each count.
Can you make that, Miss Barber?
I do not have anybody to bond me out. I'm homeless. I have no family. They're all deceased.
Well, based on that record, ma'am, that's about the best you're gonna do from me. Thank you, ma'am. Cole Goulet?
He's here, Judge, approaching.
All right, Mr. Goulet, you've been in 4 days on a charge of possession of MDMA ecstasy. What says the state?
Nothing local from what I can see. If I don't know pretrial.
What was the original bond?
I believe it's $1,000.
Sir, you live here in Broward County?
Yes, sir. I've been teaching in Broward County for the last 5 years.
I would suspect not for much longer
I-
on that. Okay, so the court's going to release him into supervision of pretrial services, minimal supervision.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay?
Okay, you're being released on pretrial. There's the math.
It's the standard reporting.
For 12 noon. If you don't report, there is a warrant issued for your arrest. So make sure you're there tomorrow, 12 noon, before that, okay?
All right. Let's see what else we got. Scott Clifton?
Mr. Clifton is approaching.
How you doing, sir?
All right, let's see where you are. All right, this is 4 days on a charge of trespass.
Your Honor, I can advise the court, this trespass involves someone's home. There's a little bit more to it than your usual trespass. Judge Gottlieb, who actually this case is assigned to him, as it turns out, set the bond at $25, but also set a pretrial release with a GPS monitor.
That's pretty serious.
It does mention.
All right, the court will not take any further action. David Willingham,
He's approaching, Judge.
Your Honor, this is on a battery. It's pretty sure.
was the alleged victim notified?
Your Honor, actually, I spoke with her because there was some conversation with Judge Levinson about possibly if this could go to Judge Lerner Wren's division, but we would need victim
A special
consent.
order, and you need a special order from her.
I spoke with her. She is not in agreement with that. She's very concerned. She's actually suffered, her injuries have worsened since the incident, and
Okay.
it's,
What's the current conditions
I
of
believe
release?
Judge Levinson set the bond at $5,000 based on, he raised it $5,000 based on the level of violence alleged.
Okay. Was there a record?
One moment, Your Honor.
There you go.
Yes, Judge. His record includes, this is just Broward.
Thank you, ma'am.
Failure to leave property, 2016. Possession of PVP, 2015. Possession of PVP, 2015. Trespass, 2014. Possession of cocaine, 2012. Resisting without violence and failure to leave property, 2011. Theft, 2007. Failure to register as a convicted felon, 05. Strong arm robbery, 02. 32-month state prison.
Thank you. The bond will stay the same. Zachary Becken,
Conti?
Mr. Becken, you've been in 5 days on a charge of resisting an officer without violence.
Yes, sir.
What was the bond that was set?
Checking that right now, Judge. I'm showing his.
Sir, you live in Miami-Dade County?
Yes, sir.
Bond was set at 100, Your Honor, and I can tell you, he's 18, he doesn't have any adult local priors.
Sir, you just can't make the $100 bond?
No, sir.
All right, the court's going to ROR the defendant. So you're going to be notified at that Opelika address to come back to court. You need to make sure you do so, or a warrant will be issued for your arrest. Yes,
I
sir.
have another address. Can I give it to you? Another address?
Can the confinement status take this down? For Zachary Becken, yeah. The Opelika address, he says, is not the good address. What's that address, sir?
2337 Northwest 65th Street.
Northwest 65th Street?
Yes, sir.
And what city is that?
Miami, Florida.
And do you know the zip?
33142.
All right, you should be released today, sir, okay?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Julia Wesson,
Ms. Wesson's in North Broward, Judge.
ma'am, you've been in 5 days on a charge of offering and agreeing to secure for lewdness. What says the state?
Your Honor, she has a $1,000 bond. She has an open possession of substituted cathinones in felony court. She's been arrested, it looks like, multiple times on that case, multiple times for failure to appear. Her last time she was arrested, February 20th, on another capias. She was released to a program.
And she's currently before a judge right now?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. The court will not change the conditions of release at this time, ma'am. You're going to have to see your assigned judge. Because this case... I'm trying to see, is this a felony though, or a
No,
misdemeanor?
this is
Still a
this is
misdemeanor.
At this point in time, it's a misdemeanor. Your Honor.
Okay. I'm gonna put bond though at 500. I don't think it's gonna make any difference, but I'll put on Ms. Wesson.
There's no way I could get ROR.
No, not at all, ma'am. David Lamprum.
Your Honor, ROR'd him this morning.
I did? Okay.
It's already been updated.
All right, I think that leaves us back to Mr. Saunders.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good after, whoops, he's missing. Where is he?
All right.
Looking for the defendant. There you are. All right, sir, this is an additional charge for burglary of a dwelling.
Yes, sir.
And you currently have, it says according to the information, I have several other charges pending that you already have bonds on. What says the state on this additional charge?
Your Honor, this was upfiled from a robbery with a weapon to an armed burglary. Since it is now a punishable by life offense, Your Honor, I'm going to be requesting that he be held no bond upon the finding of proof evident or presumption great for first appearance purposes only, based on the reports that I provided to the court.
Do you know who the assigned judge is in this?
I can check, I can let you know in a second. It would be Judge Fine.
Okay.
You say I will not have a bond, sir? Yeah.
The court, Mr. Saunders, has reviewed the investigation report by Officer Kevin Tarr, or Deputy Kevin Tarr, the Broward, I'm sorry, that's not the deputy's name, that's the victim's name. It's Deputy Hoover, the Broward Sheriff's Office, and the court does believe it establishes probable cause for the offense and also the detail that's set forth therein. The court finds that proof is evident and presumption great. Therefore, sir, you will be held without bond pending your appearance before Judge Fine. So you're going to have to see Judge Fine on this charge. All right.
What day?
I don't know what for sure, sir, when that would be.
Your Honor,
Yep.
he is scheduled for arraignment. Today's the 12th?
Today's the
He
12th.
was scheduled for arraignment this morning. That might.
Did you see Judge Fine today?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Then you probably already talked about this then with him. All right, thank you, sir.
All right.
All right, I think that might be it.
No, there's one more, Judge. There's Mr. Julio Montoya here at Maine.
I don't have him on anything. So where did he
He's
come?
on your second look docket. He's here on a disorderly conduct $25 bond.
Montoya?
He's been here since Friday, Judge, and there's no way he can post his bond. He's wanting to ask the court to consider resolving his case.
Counsel, would you let me find the paperwork first, please? So I do not see him on anything that I have.
Yeah, he wasn't on the docket, so I didn't print any paperwork for him. I'll check.
So he wasn't on the docket. That's what I asked, if he was on the docket.
I have a copy of.
Well, I don't know.
Oh, Your Honor, if I may, here's what happened. Pre-trial scheduled him to be on the docket. The clerk took him off because he was transferred to Judge Lerner-Wren's mental health division. So those get taken off because they're not to be modified until the defendant sees Judge Lerner-Wren.
Okay, and? Is it still before Judge Lerner-Wren?
Yes.
Okay.
We have another gentleman in Pompano as well, Your Honor.
All right, he's gonna have to deal with Judge Lerner-Wren.
Okay.
Thank you.
Of course, I take.
Which one?
His name is James Lewis. He's not on the docket either. I spoke with him earlier.
I have, Pompano is North Broward?
Yes.
And why, again, I
don't know.
I'll check to confirm, but it might be the same situation.
If it's not, I think he might be inclined to try and resolve it if possible.
I don't have anything for him.
I don't know.
Sir, how do you spell your last name?
Lewis, Your Honor.
Lewis?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. If you could pass it over? Oh, and you received that when? Today? Oh.
It's transferred on Friday.
Mr. Lewis, have you already been transported to a medical facility for some review? Do you have a, I can't hear him. Can you hear me, Mr. Lewis?
Yes, Your Honor.
I mean, have you already seen a physician the past day or so?
I've seen the facility doctor
Okay,
here and prescribed medication, Your Honor.
okay, so you think she signed that order this morning? Okay. Okay, you're getting ready to be taken to see somebody, sir. Okay, thank you, sir. I think that's it for everyone that's IC. Let me just see if there's any, I think that's it.
Your Honor, I was wondering if you would spare some time to address a matter that was dealt with this morning. We had a client
Take
that
your
was-
best shot.
We had a client that was placed on standard pretrial release. His name is Robert Martone. Mr. Malov was here this morning regarding that, and
Mr.
Malov
who
asked
was
me to
here?
come in- I'm sorry,
Mr. Who was here?
Mr. Malov, Robert Malov.
I know him, but I don't remember seeing
He
him.
came by after the docket, I
Okay.
advised him of what, bond and conditions are.
Okay.
The issue was that with standard pretrial release, I believe he's confined to the Tri-County area. Mr. Malov wanted me to ask you if you'd be okay with him traveling throughout the state for work purposes only.
This was,
If I'm not mistaken, that was over defense, a state objection, and I think he was very, I mean, I may be confusing him
no,
with
that's,
someone.
Your Honor, this was the child pornography case.
Right,
Yeah.
no. He needs to stay down here.
Tri-County?
Okay?
No problem. Your Honor.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
very much.
Mhm.